it was about the Asian attack stuff, right? So lo and behold, somebody DMs me.
Yeah.
And somebody I follow is China Mac, right? And you know what China Mac is, right? Big ass fucking Chinese rapper, right?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I haven't listened to a lot of China Mac's music, right? But I have listened to a couple. He has one with Dave East that's really dope.
Okay.
And China Mac can fucking rap.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like Asian rappers that I personally enjoy a lot, but he's one of them where it's like he in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it's recording. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. We have Edric Park back in the house. Right now, it's a battle of the Eds. There's Ed Park, and there's now
Don't get
Edric.
it twisted, man. All right, this guy gets confused too. It's
sometimes on the thing, I actually fuck up both of your guys' titles, and I switch your guys' tags all the time.
Yeah.
What you been doing?
Just continuing to live that COVID life, bro. What else can I do? You
got vaccinated.
I did.
How fucking lucky! You don't look like you're 65.
Yeah, I got lucky with it. So, I mean, but more than anything, it's my parents getting vaccinated is what really gives me peace of mind, because that shit had me paranoid,
Yeah.
Like, situation getting worse and worse. And here's the crazy shit. Like, it's gotten better, right? Mm-hmm. And people are saying, oh, look, the numbers are dropping. Yeah, but the numbers just dropped to summer levels in 2020. That's not anything to celebrate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like when it was really starting to get bad. Yeah. So, it's like... It's crazy here in America because the smallest amount of drop in numbers is like a reason to celebrate. All right, we can go out now. We can go back to normal.
When do you think we'll probably get back to normal?
Oh, not until 2022.
Fuck, man.
At the earliest, for sure.
That's so long.
Yeah, but look at it, bro. Look at the people here in America. Even if they can get vaccinated, which they'll be able to by summertime, everybody will be able to get it without any restrictions. It's like, what? I don't know the exact number, but if I were to guess, I would say maybe like a third or less, a little less than, don't want to get vaccinated. So, you know what I mean?
Why are people so apprehensive? Is it because they feel like it's not tested enough yet and something's going to happen to them?
One big thing is politics, right? Is like these ex-Trumpers, or I guess not even ex-Trumpers, still current Trumpers, feel like,
not my president.
Yeah, like, wearing a mask, socially distancing, vaccinating is all like you being a snowflake in a beta. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is fucking ridiculous. It's like that's the wildest shit ever.
I don't understand that at all. Well, I remember when the vaccine first came out. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, media is so interesting, right? They put out these fucking fluff pieces or whatever the fuck it is, right? These exaggerated pieces where they go, oh, well, there's somebody who got the vaccine and X amount of things happened or whatever, but they don't ever talk about the probability of, all vaccines have side effects, right? And they start doing this stuff just to make people worried because it's going to get their articles views, right? But literally all my friends in the medical field have gotten the vaccine now, first and second shot, and I'm talking about 100% of them, they've all been okay,
right?
100, and I don't know a shit ton of people who are doctors, but doctors, nurses, teachers, everybody who's getting a shot right now, 100% of them, and that's probably, I'd say at least like 15 or 16 people that I know that have gotten the shot and has zero side effects.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, even if you do have the side effects, because now I have some friends who've gotten their second rounds already, and some of them have talked about getting like a fever and like body aches, and but that's a small price. Okay, one day of that versus possible death. Or like some permanent, loss of taste, or like losing some sense that you have. I mean, the trade-off is easily worth it.
When my brother got it, he said that he had he had like a fever for a day, and then the next day he was fine.
Dude, yeah,
I'll take that shit. You guys don't want that shit.
For sure. But you have politics involved in it, and yes, you do have those anti-vaxxers, and then you just have people who are skeptical of it, like. Is it safe if I get it? Am I going to experience any side effects, short term and long term?
Give those anti-vaxxers some AIDS and see how they feel. It's like, we have the vaccine for AIDS. It's like, no, we're good, man. I'm good. I don't believe in that shit. I'm just going to have my apple cider vinegar and I'll be okay, you fucking fucks.
I'm just going to die an early death. It's fine.
Oh, did you hear fucking... This doesn't actually come as a shock to... Not so much as a shock, but I wasn't really affected like other people were. But Daft Punk splitting.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was completely out of the blue. And
did you see the video?
Yeah, I did.
The video was so fucking obscure. How the fuck did people know that they broke up from that shit? Like when I saw it, what it looked like is he murdered his best friend.
Yeah,
so I didn't know that they were split from that.
Why are you moving your foot, bro?
You better cut that shit out.
I'm just trying to play footsie. That's who I've been talking, bro.
He's linked toe. He grabbed my toe with his other toe.
I'm just trying to interlock our toes together, bro.
Like, what are you doing?
So we feel connected. I don't want to feel split like Daft Punk. I want to feel connected. Bro.
You look gay.
Yeah, no, but it was crazy. It was crazy, like, because it just happened out of the blue, and everybody's kind of speculating on as to why they would split. Because the thing is, like, if they decided to split, and it was just kind of like a internal decision between them of like, yeah, you know what, we did our thing, and let's just kind of end it. Let's just go out on top, so to speak. Or maybe it was really messy. Maybe they were trying to work on a project and they could not agree on it, which I doubt, considering how long their history together has been.
They've been together since what, early 90s?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, the 90s for sure.
Yeah, multiple Grammys. The weird thing is, like, I didn't know about, okay, that's not true. I knew about Daft Punk, but I didn't know how popular they were.
Oh yeah,
until the Pharrell album, the Pharrell track,
the Random Access Memories album.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Get Lucky single from there.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Niles Rodgers.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I heard that shit, and they were doing the collab with Daft Punk, I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
But obviously the sound of that album was completely different, right? It was hip hop, it was EDM, it was all this other stuff. But I didn't realize how huge of a cult following that they had.
Yeah, dude.
And I also didn't know that nobody knows what they look like since like the early 90s.
Yeah. I mean, they've they're one of the, I guess, like, groups or artists who did an impeccable job with their branding, because it just stayed consistent throughout their whole career. And yes, the whole robot thing, the image of it and everything evolved over time, but it was always on brand with what they were trying to do. And bro, they were hugely influential. You know what I mean? Look at Kanye's Stronger track, right? That was sampling that. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, it was Daft Punk sampled a song and Kanye sampled the sample, right? So, but yeah, that's what it was based off of.
They're what? They're Parisian?
No, yeah, Parisian. Yeah, they are.
That's fucking crazy, man. Like, I feel like when people talk about Daft Punk, I think it's hard for people to say. I think when I was reading online, they're like, "Oh my god, Daft Punk broke up." I kind of wanted to ask these people, like, "What's that fucking Daft Punk song that you know, bitch?" Like, besides the shit from Kanye and Pharrell,
yeah.
What's a Daft Punk song that you know? Because sometimes I feel like online people are very disingenuous about the stuff that they like, only because people are like blowing it up that they feel like they have to put their 2 cents in.
You know what the thing is that the reason why, like, even the new generation knows Daft Punk is because they were able to stay relevant by working with big artists like The Weeknd, right? I Feel It Coming, Starboy, right? Those are Daft Punk.
Oh, that was Daft Punk too?
Yeah, that's Daft Punk.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a hater then.
Yeah. So, so I mean, that's how they've been able to stay relevant throughout the decades, is just them making dope ass music as always, and then them also collaborating with other huge artists at that time. So,
because they definitely have to be in their 40s.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah,
and Daft Punk specifically only did EDM, right?
Yeah, it was electronic music.
There's no vocals, there's nothing like that. It's
no, they did. So they would use a vocoder. That's kind of like their signature thing. Okay. They would sample, but here's the shit though, bro. They would sample like funk records and stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then turn that into basically electronic music. And before, EDM music was like what people know EDM music as now, like with all these huge festivals and shit. Back then is when they had the cult following, and then like going into the 2000s, they just started to get huge from that point on.
Yeah,
and then ever since then, they've kind of been a household name in a sense, without being in the public eye all the time. That's the craziest shit.
Very hard to do.
It is.
That's why I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, I don't even know what they look like.
Yeah.
I actually had to Google it, and I found an old picture of them from the early 90s, which clearly they don't look like that anymore. But since before or after that, there aren't any published photos of their face.
Yeah.
So who knows what they look like.
Yeah.
That's why that video was so weird and jarring, because it was even done with like the soundtrack of like an 80s kung fu movie or some shit. You know what I mean? Like those 80s like cop movies or some shit.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because when I was looking at it, I'm like, how did people surmise that they broke up from this? Like, he literally blew one of them up. I'm like,
Dude, I know, but I think it was one of those things where like, oh, are they trying to say this? And then they confirm with the publicist. The publicist confirmed, yes, they have broken up.
that shit has like 21 million views.
Yeah, dude. But that's how big of a following that they have. I mean, honestly, in this day and age, though, I guess 21 million is not even like astronomical numbers. You got like these K-pop bands who are doing like 300 million in a week. You know what I mean?
Oh, freaking what's his face? I just saw the numbers today because Bobby Shmurda just got out from jail. That fool's song, the one that he got really popular off of. Fuck, why am I'm blanking out right now? But either way, everybody does the dance.
Yeah, the Shmurda dance.
Half a fucking billion views, dude. 600 something million or something like that.
There are videos that are in the billions of views now. I've been seeing that. I mean, I'm sure it's existed, but I've only personally been seeing it for the first time in like the past month, and I'm like, holy shit, is this a billion views?
That's definitely size Gangnam Style has a million views.
Yeah, I would say, I think that's a safe bet to say he has a billion views. I haven't seen that video in a long time.
I didn't even know that Bobby Shmurda was in jail. He was in jail for fucking like 6 years.
Holy shit!
I just thought he fell off.
For what?
I think it's like racketeering and all that other shit. But he was like gang affiliated. I mean, he had a couple of priors before he got in jail with this one. But I guess like his music group, he calls it a music group, but they're considered, I guess the police consider them a gang or some shit like that. Okay. But it was like,
doing dumb shit.
Yeah, don't quote me on this, but it was like racketeering, murder, just the typical shit like that.
Bro, you an artist now, man. You can make some money, doing that shit. You don't got to do all that illegal shit anymore.
He did a bid for like 7 years, and I think like he had to negotiate that down. But he negotiated it down where it was like him and his associate, they were only going to do time for 7 years together.
Okay.
I guess people respected that a lot because he didn't snitch. Conversely to like Tekashi69 where he snitched on his whole crew. So it was like a huge fucking thing. Everybody's celebrating his release, like Quavo. Everybody's tweeting it out.
Yeah,
but it's kind of nuts, man. I think the thought that you can go to jail for 6 or 7 years after you had a poppin' record, you made all this fucking money off of music, and at the time when he first started rapping or performing, and this is 6-7 years ago. This is him just starting off. Like each show, he was making a minimum of like 20 grand.
Yeah.
Like 20K each for a young person like that for each show. And he was touring a lot. And he went to jail for some stupid shit like that. It's like, man, I always wondered too. It's like, how I can't do that. Like if I'm already making money legitimately, what's the point?
Exactly. Well, I guess it's hard because like when that's kind of their background and that's their life. I mean, it's like you either move out of the hood or you stay in the hood, right?
Yeah.
And really depends on the person. Some people who, were aspiring artists who get to that level of becoming kind of like, an artist that's made. They're like, dude, why the fuck would I stay in the hood? This is why I've been hustling. This is why I've been grinding to get myself in a better life, away from all this shit. But then you got, especially if they're younger, maybe they don't have that type of perspective and kind of like life experience. And they're like, nah, I ain't a bitch, man. I'm in the hood for life, you know? Is this what I'm about? And if that's the case, then obviously you're not going to be able to stay out of trouble.
Dude, there's some like scary people like, so the other day too, I was looking through my DMs and I did that video where, it was about the Asian attack stuff, right? So lo and behold, somebody DMs me.
Yeah.
And somebody I follow is China Mac, right? And you know what China Mac is, right? Big ass fucking Chinese rapper, right?
Yeah. And
it was interesting because I haven't listened to a lot of China Mac's music, right? But I have listened to a couple. He has one with Dave East that's really dope.
Okay.
And China Mac can fucking rap.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like Asian rappers that I personally enjoy a lot, but he's one of them where it's like he like raps with a lot of conviction, and he's about what he says.
Right. I mean, he's done his time too.
Exactly. And so when he messaged me, I want to get him on this podcast, but I'm pretty sure if he comes on this podcast, he probably told everything already online. But I'm just kind of curious about other stuff that people haven't asked. But he is such an interesting character because I went to go see his channel, and it's gone. His YouTube channel is completely gone.
Why?
And then I went back to his Instagram to look through a few things. So apparently China Mac deleted his YouTube and his music off of all of his platforms, iTunes, Spotify, or whatever. Or if it's still on Spotify, I'm not sure what's happening with that, right?
Yeah.
But he went online and he did this a YouTube live, because I asked a couple of other people, where he was talking about he's quitting music forever. Like he's done with fucking music. And he kind of went on this diatribe about getting people to understand why it's so hard to be an independent artist, because a lot of people don't see the costs that it takes to make this specific piece of art.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are asking for more content, but they're not willing to pay for the stuff that they see. So China Mac was talking about, well, there's this music video that I did. He goes, I had to rent out the prisoner guard outfits. I had to rent out the truck, the music video people, the producers. He goes, basically what happens with music, the music producer, the album artist, the people on set, whatever, the PAs, everybody gets a check before me, and the artist gets the last check. Everybody wants me to continue music. You guys verbally say that you support me, but I'm out here, I don't have any fucking money. So where's the support? So he's like, I'm pretty much done with music. I got to do something that feeds me. And I think like his fans had like this weird reaction to it. Part of it was like, hey, yo, keep your head up, like keep doing this shit, make it a hustle. But other fans kind of felt that, yo, you're kind of dissing us. Like we're supporting you. What about the fans that do support you? Which I kind of understood his standpoint, you know, where I think now, because everybody gets a cut of whatever you do, it's hard for him to survive as an artist.
I just don't understand though why he would take down all this content. I mean, why not just, I mean, yeah, you could quit music, but I don't understand kind of the mentality of like removing everything.
After he did that, and the only reason why I found out that he removed his music was because he put up a post on his Instagram where he was talking about he's actually doing the thing that you did, where it's distributing music out personally versus putting it through other platforms.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and that was per advice of some of his friends, or some of his friends in the industry, in the music industry. It's like, yo, why don't you just distribute your music directly for people? If you have a fan base that's strong enough to go ahead and distribute your music directly to them. And that's how you can make that check. If people really fuck with you, if they say that they verbally fuck with you, then they'll buy your music, you know, directly, which was kind of interesting. And I guess like he decided to do music again. He's re-releasing his albums and selling it out that way.
Okay. So it's just kind of like retooling himself to figure out how can I monetize this better, or how can I focus it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I see. That makes sense then. Yeah. For me, it was the other way around, where like for the first, I forget however much time it was, whether it was like a few months or whatever. Yeah, it was the only way you'd be able to access the music was through the website, and basically getting digital or physical or both from that channel. And then once kind of like that, so it was kind of planned out that way, where like the first wave is going to be from there. And then once kind of momentum starts to slow down, start slowly putting it on these other platforms, whether it be your YouTubes, your SoundClouds, your Spot, and kind of regenerate interest again, bring it to new audiences. That was kind of the goal with that. But now in this day and age, I mean, because bro, think about it, that shit was already like 5-6 years ago. Yeah. How much things have changed since then, right? I mean, you and I were just talking about it before we started this with NFTs, right? And digital art. How that's going to be a game changer. And we're going to, you know, we'll save that conversation for when we have, you know, our special guest for that. Yeah. But the game is different now, man. It's different, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you can be an artist, sure. And you could create what you're good at creating, but you have to understand also how you're going to distribute this using all the tools that are available in the online space for you to maximize you being an artist and you being able to make a living as an artist. And if you're not with that, now we're not at a time where people, because back in the days, people were like, oh, I'm just an artist. I don't want to have to deal with the business shit. Let my manager deal with it. You don't have a manager. Okay, well, I'm going to get a manager so they can deal with it. Yeah. Now you have to kind of wear multiple hats in that regard. You can't just be an artist. You really have to understand the business side of it, at least if you want to be independent anyway. And there's more than enough tools out there to stay independent, but it's a different kind of hustle. It's a different kind of grind now. You know what I mean? Like if you're a music artist, it's not just about, being in the studio and just pumping out 5 mixtapes, like the Weezy model, right? Just pumping out mixtapes every couple of months and pushing that shit out. It's like, back then you still had people, well, I'm sure in certain parts of the country too, they still do it, but pushing it out the trunk of the car, all these bootleggers, you get it out to them, and then these leaks that you create, right? And then people get their hands on it and spread it all around. But it ain't just like that anymore. You know what I mean? The game has changed so much. And if you aren't up to date with that, you evolve or die.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. And it's a shame for some talented artists who die because they don't evolve.
Yeah, and I think for him too, when he was talking about on some of these videos, and I'm pretty sure those videos got taken down, but somebody sent me I asked a couple people if they had the video so I could see him talking about it. And I think for him, it was very disheartening, right? Especially because of his past life. I might be wrong about all this information because I read about him years ago, right? But he did a bid for about 10 years for attempted murder.
Yeah.
The guy didn't die. I think the person that he shot actually got paralyzed, right? And so for somebody to kind of change his life around and do something in the positive way, but then obviously, having to reform yourself, you have an idea of what you want to happen. If it doesn't happen that way, you get a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's very disheartening. And especially for him, he did what? He did a bid for 10 years at Rikers for attempted murder. It was over some fucking thuggish ass shit too. So I guess for China Mac, somebody stabbed him, right? And he was out in public. He was with one of his homies, and in his mind, he told himself that if he ever sees the person who stabbed him, he's just gonna fucking murk him on the spot.
Yeah.
That's him. He had a piece on him at all times.
Yeah.
Right. And so he sees the dude. He's about to blast this dude on sight. Homie comes and steps in front of me. He goes, "Hey, not right here. It's a very public area." Didn't really get to release his pent-up aggression, anger, and it's mulling through his head. So he goes to this club spot where Jin is at. One of his homies, he's already in a pissed off mood, bad mood. He was already in the mind state to kill. Yeah. And one of his homies said that Jin is here and Jin disrespected him, not China Mac per se, but him, because something along the lines of his girl is he was macking at this dude's girl or some shit like that, right? So China Mac was like, all right, let's run up on him then. That's it. That's all it fucking took, because he was in a bad fucking mood. So saw him go to the bathroom, took him into a fucking bathroom stall, pushed him up against the wall, and he had a gun on him, but one of Jin's friends went up behind China Mac. He noticed it, turned around, whatever, put him on his knees or some shit like that, and he put the gun where he specifically said was at like the base of his skull, right here. He pulled the trigger, gun jammed. Got lucky. Yeah. Because if his gun didn't jam, he would have murdered him and he would have been in jail for life. Right. That would have been done. And he went to squeeze another one, and somehow his hand moved or some shit, shot the dude in the spine and paralyzed him. And then he was on the run for about a fucking year. Yeah. And even before that, he apparently he did a bid for 3 years before that too. And this dude has been gangbanging since he was like a little teen. Yeah. Because I guess his dad was affiliated too with like Chinese mafia. I don't remember the set's name or whatnot, but apparently it's like affiliated through like, the OG East Coast Chinese mafia shit. And then he got involved in a gang that was actually rival to his father's gang. Because he hated his fucking dad, because his dad was never around. So he was like, well, fuck it then. I'm gonna join a different gang. And since then he was like a hardened like gangster and criminal, which is kind of nuts. And he takes that and he puts it into music, which a lot of people, just because they're thugs doesn't mean they can rap. Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure. I mean, like, some people might have that credibility, but they're garbage rappers. I know. Like, or just garbage, whatever they're trying to do. But yeah, I'm kind of like somewhat familiar with that story. And it is kind of sad for not just him, but just artists of kind of like, because you would consider him and like some of these other artists like around the same age more old heads, right? Yeah. They're not the new generation. And an old head trying to acclimate himself or herself into the new generation, new way of things, it can be pretty daunting, man. Yeah. Just figuring out, okay, how do I record music? How do I get this shit out? That's a process in and of itself, figuring that out. And now it's like, how do I make money off of this shit? What tools do I use? How do I use YouTube? How do I use Instagram? How do I use Snapchat? And that could be a real uphill battle to trying to figure that out, unless you got like really well-versed people around you who are very familiar with those platforms who can help you out. And I feel like for him too, he has a lot of integrity, right? So in terms of him loving hip hop and music, he has that traditional love for that genre. So he wants to pay homage and respect to the way that he raps and the stuff that he raps about, right? Problem with that doesn't really sell nowadays.
Again, old head.
Yeah, like an
You know
old
what
head
I
type
mean?
of shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he did put out a track that he said wasn't very much like him, but it was probably, in my personal opinion, was one of his best tracks he's ever put out. It's this track called "Not That Tough," and he releases that track, and then he just says, "I'm done with music." I'm like, well, that was probably one of your better tracks that you've ever done.
Yeah.
So he is leveling up, but on the other side, it's like, is he going to be like a Tekashi69? You know what I mean? Have you seen that documentary about him on Hulu?
About Tekashi?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
It's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah.
It goes back into this whole idea of, it's not about artistry. It's not about music. It's you doing whatever you can to be famous.
For sure.
And that is his whole shtick, right? And so even back in the day when Charlemagne the God at 106.5, he called him out. He goes, so when are you done with this whole like facade thing, right? He's, oh, you think this shit's not real? It's not real. But it wasn't. So when you go into this documentary, first of all, the documentary opens up insane. So it's this documentarian. He's in the neighborhood and he's interviewing the projects that Tekashi69 grew up in.
Yeah.
So he's talking to one of the neighbors. And as he's asking him, he goes, so do you know who Daniel is or whatever, whatnot? And then one of the other neighbors comes down. He goes, hey, are you fucking talking about Daniel? Don't fucking talk about Daniel. Starts cursing out the dude that lives in the same place. He goes, oh, I'm just telling him I know who he is. He goes, fuck you. Don't say shit. And this other lady comes down. She goes, what are you yelling at him for? It's like, he's talking about Daniel. He goes, tell him to get the fuck out of here. So I don't know what that whole shtick is about. But they get into this whole process of Tekashi69's start, right? Obviously, he very troubled childhood, grew up fucking dirt poor, had a kid at a super young age. But one thing that everybody says that's consistent is that he always wanted to be famous. And he was doing anything he could to make sure he was famous. Yeah. And that was his shtick. So back in the day, he would wear shirts that were really fucking stupid. Like it would say like, I don't know, I eat pussy on it. And then people would be like, this guy's fucking crazy. And he would feed off of that. Oh, it's like, oh, if I wear a stupid shirt, somebody's going to notice me. Cool, I'll wear this stupid It's actually kind of sad. Yeah. You know? And so he would start doing crazier shit. Then he would start putting on the rainbow hair colors. And then people are like, oh, you're the kid with the rainbow hair. So he goes, oh, if I keep doing dumb shit and stupid stuff, people are going to recognize me. Then he started doing music videos with like, you know, at that time when hood people were starting to, you know, cling on to like Japanese anime shit, right? So he started naming all his tracks like popular phrases that you would see in animes. Like one of his songs is called like Shinigami, right? With Death God. Yeah. And then, you know, all these nerds would start liking him. And then all these other like, he was trying to grab anything that he fucking could. Yeah. Do whatever he can. But what bit him on the ass was that he kind of bit more than he could chew.
Oh, I mean, that's not a sustainable model. You know what I mean? Like he started trolling real gangsters and shit. Like,
that was the part that blew my mind.
Yeah, he would be in LA and, you know, because he's like this so-called blood, right? He would start trolling these Crip members, right? Like real Crip members. And he would kind of like post a video of him being at like a mall somewhere in LA, right? And like the dudes would see it and they'd go after, you know, go over there to find them. But then it turns out he recorded that hours before and he posted it on there like he was actually there. So like he would troll these dudes and then they would go looking for him. And, you know, I'm like, oh, dude, when he started doing shit like that, I'm like, okay, man, you're not going to last, bro. Like you're playing with fire constantly now.
It's weird too. And you know what the sad thing is when I was watching this documentary, it was also a reflection of what matters to the youth, right? And it's not about creating things. It's just about what can I do so anybody will look at me. And this is generally where this generation is going. Yeah. And it's very and highly evident in Tekashi69 because even after they found out, like, number one, he's not really a thug. He was just a troll that kind of just was sucking his own dick too hard. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because what happened was he almost got murdered once for it. And then after that, he was going to go to jail for the racketeering and all this other bullshit, which he was not prepared for. Right? He was never a thug. He was never a gangster. Yeah. So, you know, him playing up that part, he was supposed to go to jail for fucking life. Yeah. And then what does he do? He rats everybody out, which goes to show he's not really about that life. Right? But still gets millions of spins. People still fuck with him and they think that it's cool. So these young kids are going to follow suit.
Well, he's like it's meme culture. You know what I mean? He was like a living, breathing meme. Yeah. Right? But I'll give you an example of that type of mindset actually working positively. Somebody like Mr. Beast on YouTube. His whole thing was the same thing. I just want to be a famous YouTuber. Yeah. Whatever it takes for me to be able to get that, I'm just going to try different. So when he started out, he had no like purpose in terms of what his personality or what his thing was going to be as a YouTuber. He's just like, I'm just going to try different things. But
before we continue this podcast, let's talk about one of our amazing sponsors, Care of, my friends. If you have not heard of Care of, where have you been? It is a wellness brand that makes it easy to maintain your health goals with a customized vitamin plan that helps you feel amazing. All of Care of's products are formulated with good for you, clean ingredients that are backed by science. Care of is super transparent about the research and sourcing behind each of their products, which help you relax because you don't have to worry about anything. Your recommendations come in daily, individually wrapped packets that are perfect for getting back into the routine. See, February can still be a fresh start for the new year, and your resolutions don't have to be big. And even small, impactful changes are just as important, like adding a daily vitamin to help support your energy, sleep, or fitness to target those goals, whether in the short or long term. I love Care of. All I had to do was take a very simple quiz, and they kind of diagnosed what I needed for my vitamin supplementation based on the stuff that I personally care about. So it's super awesome. It's really easy to do. You have nothing to lose but to improve your life. So for all my Genius Brain listeners, make sure you get this deal. For 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code GENIUS50. Once again, for 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code GENIUS50 to get that deal today and improve your health or to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
with him, he was a little bit more business minded about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I did this live streaming counting to 100,000 in real time and it got this many views. Okay, this type of stuff works. So I'm going to start focusing on this type of thing. And then eventually he kind of got into the whole philanthropy shtick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he actually enjoys giving
Yeah.
to people. So I'm not going to go as far as calling it a shtick.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a genuine sense of like wanting to give too, but it also happens to get him a ton of views.
Yeah.
And then he just kept refining and landed on basically the model of where he's at now, is doing all these crazy things having to do with giving money away or giving, items away or whatever. And dude, look at how many views he gets, man. He drops a video and like within a couple of days, he's at like 5 million views. Within a week, he's at like 10, 15 million views, Every video he drops gets double-digit million views. So
what he does now is that all the stuff that he gives away is sponsored now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even come out of his own pocket anymore.
So he's been doing that too. Like the whole $1 million thing, I think, was sponsored by Honey, right?
Yeah.
That cashback or whatever
Mhm.
app. So yeah, he does get he's transparent about that he sponsors are what helps him to do these bigger and better things. But then there are times too when he does do it out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
But whatever the case is, like that's a good example of how doing whatever it takes to get famous
Mhm.
puts somebody in the right path. But I would say that, it's a lottery to get big in and of itself, but then to go in a positive way within that's like, 1 in a billion.
Yeah, like I would think too, because back in the day, if you were kind of outed out as somebody who was fake or kind of lived the fake life, like your career was done. It's like, I'm not gonna fuck with this dude. He's not
Right.
even about that shit.
Yeah.
But it kind of shows where values lie. It's like, well, he's it doesn't matter. Like we'll still fuck with him no matter what. I mean, he's still getting the same views.
Yeah.
Like a part of me looks at that and I'm like, this kid won. Like he won.
Yeah. No, that's the thing though. That's kind of like the culture we're in right now.
Yeah.
Is people don't give a fuck to really like confirm things. They might hear, oh yeah, that dude's a fake fuck, he's a phony. Whatever, I'm not even gonna pay attention to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fact check it. I'm just gonna fuck with it because I like his music or I like what he does, or he's a wild guy. He's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, that's where we're at. And like you just brought up, maybe back in like, let's say the 90s, you got a rapper who's actually, you know what though? We got plenty of artists too who pretended to be kind of like about that gang life and gang culture, but it was more of like they're playing up, that whole thing, right? That's existed since I would say like probably the 90s.
Yeah.
But they weren't as I guess, crazy about it. Like a guy like Tekashi, he went above and beyond with everything, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, in a sense, I feel like that's exactly what marketing is, right? It's about figuring out how are we going to market this artist to an audience that we think he'll or she or he will hit with. And that's how you kind of upsell something. Oh, he's from a bad neighborhood. Maybe we can upsell the fact that he's a gangster. He has affiliation, his family members or whatever. So that artist himself, I mean, I don't want to name any names particularly. I'm happy with my life and living. So, but certain artists, like later on in their career, like even their own moms would say, oh yeah, he was never this bad. He got worse after he started rapping. After he started getting famous.
What? I remember somebody calling out Paul Wall about that shit because he went to like a private Christian school. He was like a super cool, and all of a sudden he had the grills in his mouth and everything else like that. Yeah. I forgot who called him out, but Paul Wall was one of them too.
And that's when you would say it's like kind of like appropriating, right? You're appropriating like poor people's life and that culture when it's really sad, but so that you can sell records, you know. And you can get more, I guess, views and hits.
You know what's nuts? Like even the concept of like the whole cultural appropriation thing, it became I didn't realize how big of a deal it's been for a while. Like even since Vanilla Ice, like there was a specific interview that Vanilla Ice was going. I think it was Arsenio Hall that was interviewing him. He kind of asked him about, what do you think about people saying that you're basically culturally appropriating like black culture and making it profitable for you? Because these aren't like new issues. Like this is stuff that's been there since back in the day.
Yeah.
Because basically what was brought up is like you're basically a biter of MC Hammer and you're taking his shine and you're making money off of his stuff, right? And then Vanilla Ice responded, it's like I can't control what I do. Like that's just them if they think that, and that is what it is. But this has been a topic that's been going on for a very fucking long time.
Yeah.
Because it seems like all this stuff seems really recent. Like people haven't brought this stuff up at all, but it's not true. Like when I just looked it up, I was like, oh. Vanilla Ice went through that shit.
Sure,
it's been around since when I was a little kid.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, and it's not just people appropriating black culture either. I mean, Asian culture. I mean, like every culture gets appropriated in some sense, right? It's just that I feel like the big focus here in America when it comes to appropriation, has been about appropriating black culture because there's so much entertainment here. The entertainment industry is here. But then, you take like, okay, well, so if somebody is getting like Asian tattoos on their body and they don't even know what the fuck it means, right? That's appropriation, right?
Oh, that shit, like, I forgot who Jeremy Lin said that shit to, but Jeremy Lin, because he had the cornrows in his head, and I forgot which basketball player came at him, and he was like, Jeremy Lin shouldn't do that shit because he's appropriating black culture, and he's like, well, what's up with the Chinese tattoos on your arms?
Right. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's not just with the tattoos. That's just a easy example to understand.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like Asian culture appropriation, right? No one's fucking giving a fuck about that. No one's saying anything about that. You know what I mean? Like when for example, like people here, Americans will wear like the Japanese like kind of like the floral,
kanji. Yeah.
Where's people screaming appropriation there, right? That's what I'm saying. It just kind of ties in with the whole violence against these Asian elders too. Is that Asian people are not looked at seriously.
Like race and culture is such it's kind of an exhausting topic in this country specifically. Like this country, everything that has to do with anything has to deal with race now. Like it's so funny because the idea of what we ideally want from each other is that, oh, race shouldn't even matter, right? But people can't stray away from it. They almost use it as a crutch for themselves, right? And obviously there's like a deep-rooted history with Black Americans in this country, right? So that's obviously a separate topic. But the hard part is like, how are you going to level up from this, right? Not just everybody in this country. I'm talking about Americans in general. It's like, if you want everybody to look at you just based on the character of who you are, then you're going to have to move past looking at everything as a race issue, right? Now, once again, I'm not talking about the recent events that happened in this country with the whole BLM stuff. This is a separate topic. But I think now everything is becoming so racially charged and everybody's becoming so hypersensitive. Those lines between what can be said appropriately in a positive or negative manner, nobody knows, right? Like for example, too, like if you describe, like this is a funny ass sketch, right? Where it was like a Mad TV sketch where somebody was in a retail store and this lady, she got helped out by a black dude. And obviously, like when you're in a retail store and you get helped out by somebody, when you're at the cash register, they want to know who helped you out so that they can give them credit or whatever, or they get a cut of the sale.
Yeah.
All right. And then she goes, "Oh, who helped you out?" And she goes, "Oh, he's tall, you know, he's brown eyes. Yeah. Like everybody has brown eyes. Like what else? He might like hip hop, you know, and in that type of situation too, that is actually something that's very real. Yeah. Like it's very uncomfortable for somebody to say, "Oh, it's like, oh, that black dude over there helped me out." Yeah. Right. Because like, what you mean, black dude?
Yeah. Right. So that begs the question then. Has our American culture and society become too soft?
Oh, I 100% believe it's way too fucking soft. Yeah. Like you could walk away and be offended by everything now.
Yeah, I feel the same, bro.
and honestly, too, it's okay for you to feel offended. I think the problem is how much you think people should change because of your preference is the problem that I had. It's your specific preference. You could feel a certain way about it and you could talk about it or whatever, but the idea of canceling somebody for all this other stuff.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's hard. Like I get it too, right? Because sometimes I get caught up in that type of fervor where I'm like, you know what, fuck this guy. They shouldn't make a single dime or whatever. But at the same time, like I still want people to be able to like express themselves and say the things that they want to say without having to feel like everything that they do is going to get canceled. Yeah. Right. And it's just this world where people just don't want to feel bad ever. Like they never want to feel bad. Like, bitch, you're gonna fucking feel bad all the time. You can't control that shit. Yeah. It's not fair. Yeah. It's not fair for specifically for creatives and artists, right? Because specifically great art pushes boundaries all the time. Whether it's paintings, whether it's drawings, music, stand-up comedy, whatever the fuck that it is, creative writing. It's always going to push boundaries. And if you always want to be comfortable, there's no growth in that. So how do you expect artists to push forward, like stand-up comics? Like they're going to say some fucked up shit, right? It's going to happen. I have said fucked up shit multiple times. But in order for them to work on their set and work on things, they cannot be stopped from doing this material, or they're just never going to create good things. It's just going to be the same bullshit that you see all the time. Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle for a reason. Louis C.K. is Louis C.K. for a reason. Minus, jacking off and shit.
Masturbating in front of people.
You know?
No, I agree, man. I agree. It's because a lot of the times art can be social commentary too. So if anything, you're kind of holding up a mirror and saying, a certain thing about it, right? And not to mention, art can also be open for interpretation. Yeah. But then when it's like, no, you cannot say what you think and say what you feel because those are off limits now. Yeah. If you do that, we're going to fucking cancel you. Like, in mass, we're going to cancel you. Yeah. And, I feel like, fucking this culture, society, maybe the younger generation, and people... A lot of people in America these days have become very fucking sensitive and like very trigger happy.
Well, they're just married to the idea that they shouldn't feel any pain. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how do you live like that? Yeah. Well, and having that mentality and that mind state too is going to set you up for fucking failure. Because every time you're offended, every time you're hurt, you're going to expect other people to pat you on the back. And that's not fucking, it's not life.
That ain't life, man.
That's not fucking life, man.
I'm sorry, man. Like, you're going to have to just figure out how to fucking take the hits and punches sometimes. You know what I mean?
It's like they're trying to mold this world into a pain-free world. And it's never going to be like that.
Not in America anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or just anywhere in general. People are going to say stupid shit. Like and especially if you're on the internet, people are going to say even more stupid shit. It actually makes me want to create troll accounts just so I can say offensive shit now. Just to get people to get used to it. Yeah. You know?
Well, I'm fuck, man. The YouTube comment section, I always say, is the cesspool of America. You see everything across the spectrum there, from like straight up racism to like just straight up idiocracy, like everything. And then I see that and I'm like, you know what? There's a good chunk of America that's like that. There's people out there that are like that. But the sensitivity thing, man, I just feel like people are way too sensitive now. And it's like, really is not that big of a fucking deal, dude. Learn to fucking be able to joke about things.
Even something like everybody wants to be like this social justice warrior. Nobody even wants to look at intent sometimes, right? So the other day I was looking at a tweet and this person wanted to put this other person on blast, right? And this specific individual asked this young Asian girl a question that, yeah, culturally it was a little insensitive, but the intent wasn't bad. Right? Before we continue this podcast, let's talk about our amazing sponsor, IPVANISH. Now, if you don't know who IPVANISH is, most likely you are browsing the internet in an unsafe manner. You can use a VPN on your computers, tablets, phones, and even things like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. When you use a VPN, all your data is encrypted. What you're reading, what you're searching, what you're watching, whatever it is you're doing. IPVANISH is just $349 a month or $27.99 a year. Yes, it's that cheap. You need to protect your online privacy and security. So go to IPVanish.com/brain, claim your 65% savings. They have plans starting at $349 a month or $27.99 a year. This is the time to sign up with our discount and their current promotional offerings. You can get a VPN for 65% off the usual offering. IPVanish is the best of the best, even rated 4.7 out of 5 on Trustpilot, and that's more than 6,000 reviews. Show these guys some love. Remember, it's IPVanish.com/brain to get the deal and start protecting yourself online. And so it was something that was written in Chinese and asked her, it's like, hey, do you know what this means? Like, could you help me out? And then, she kind of goes off on her, like, I'm not Chinese. You shouldn't even ask people, all this other stuff. It's like, well, hold on a second. And then, screen caps it, puts it up like, yo, this girl is so stupid for even asking me. This is 2021. You shouldn't even do this type of stuff. It's like, number one, that girl is your fan. She didn't do it because she hates you.
Right? It could have just been an honest mistake.
It's an honest fucking mistake. It's going to happen. Yeah. If you keep doing shit like that, people just won't ever fuck with you.
Right. Look at the context though.
Yeah.
Right? Like it wasn't, hey, Ching Chong, can you?
Exactly. She fucking thought it's all the same shit. People don't know things, right? There's stuff that you don't know about other people's culture. Yeah. The difference was that she came at you in a very nice way. She just didn't know. It was an opportunity for you to educate that person or just, in a very kind way. And now that person fucking hates you. Right. Now that person's going to go around fucking hating Asian people. Right. And that's your bad.
So it's like in that situation, ignorance, sure. Racism, that's a stretch, right? Yeah. That's a really far stretch. But so if it's coming from a place of ignorance and it's not coming from it's not a hostile type of ignorance.
Yeah.
You can take that moment to be like, hey, you can't, if you really need to say something, you can't assume, that all Asians are Chinese or whatever, right? I'm not whatever you think I am, and I don't know what this says. End the story, right?
Yeah, I would have just wrote like, LOL, the fuck are you talking about? Or I would have just said some funny shit. Yeah. I was like, it actually means that you have AIDS.
Yeah, just translate.
Yeah, it means you have a bumpy pussy. That's what that means. And you're walking around with a tattoo that says bumpy pussy on you.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, like that sensitive knee-jerk reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's this idea that you have to just constantly hurt people just to get them to understand. That was a fan. Like, it was a fan of this person's content. Yeah. And instead of taking that time to be like, hey, you made you think that person's trying to offend you? Yeah. This person likes you. Yeah. Like, genuinely likes you. And you clearly went out of your way to read out of your hundreds of DMs to single this person out, which is a little weird, to me in the first place. It's like, are you looking for your DMs to find like angry things? It's like to be angered about?
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. I don't know why or how it's kind of shifted into this direction. Maybe because getting to be anonymous online plays a huge part to that, because now people can like virtue signal and just like kind of say whatever the fuck they want.
Everybody's a fucking tough guy, dude.
Yeah, with no like repercussion. And that could probably be the reason why it kind of shifted that way. But I look at it, I'm like, man, y'all a bunch of sensitive motherfuckers. I come from a different time and a different era where, we joked and said things that might not be considered appropriate these days. Yeah. But the intention was never meant to be like a hurtful thing, like towards a group of people or a type of people or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, how can you say that in 2021?
It's like they're flipping the fuck out over everything. It's like you don't have to do it that way. There are things to be angry about, and there's other things that you don't have to.
Dude. Like Me Too. That's a serious thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these motherfuckers who were, abusing their power to do things to people. But then that kind of went overboard too. Like in a sense of like anything and everything that could be remotely close to being perceived as an abuse of power in a certain way is like you are immediately fucking canceled.
Yeah.
Right? But there's like degrees of that shit too. You know, we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Like Louis C.K. masturbating in front of people. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. But it's not the same as like fucking roofing somebody and then like raping this person.
I think
you know what I mean?
Everybody had like a different take on it, right? Because the room was split 50-50 on that topic because of like, it's like the argument against Louis is that because he used his power over this person to masturbate in front of her, right? But then the other side of the argument was Louis wasn't threatening. He didn't verbally say like, if you walk out this room, you'll never open for me ever again.
Right.
And he actually asked for consent, and you agreed upon it. and you stood there and you watched him.
I mean, it's not like as soon as he puts his hand on his dick, he nuts. There's a period there where he needs to work up to it.
Right. And so it was like a weird thing. It was like, I understood both sides of the argument, but it was kind of odd too. Cause in my mind, when I first thought of it, I was like, this fool made this girl stay here and watch him, and they're like, no, he jacked off. Yeah. And then she was next to the door, and then she stood and watched him like a pervert.
Bro. There was enough time during that process to let that marinate and think, I don't really like this. I don't like what I'm seeing right now. I think I'm gonna turn around and leave.
Like I said, I understand the whole like power argument thing, but I guess like for me, anyways, when I think about that, it was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that feels like. So if a dude, I could only speak for myself. If a girl just started fingering herself in front of me, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, like, put that fucking disgusting mousetrap away, you nasty bitch. What's wrong with you? She goes, you'll never work in this town again. Neither will you. I'll bring up my phone. Click.
Exactly.
You'll never work in this town again either, bitch. Let's play this game.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like, maybe it was an abuse of power, but maybe he's just sick in the head like that, and he has that type of like, perversion, like where whether or not he was in that place of power, he would have done that anyway. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the need to flex power. It's the need to show somebody that, hey, I'm gonna masturbate.
He definitely has a weird preference for that shit.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
It's so odd too, because Louis C.K. would talk about that shit in his stand-up. I'm like, oh, that shit wasn't a stand-up. That shit's real life, huh? Yeah. At least this motherfucker's honest as shit, huh? Yeah. Damn. Well, everybody, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. You could catch us every Thursdays and Sundays. You can catch Ed at Ed2. I almost said Ed Park VP. No, bro. At Ed2. And if you guys want to cop the gear, it's at Secret Society. You can see that on Instagram, and you can go ahead and go on the website and check that out. And we will see you all next time.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.